Am I wrong for making my son's birth mom move out once the adoption was finalized? For the past 7 years, my husband, 43 male, and I, 37 female, have been trying to have children, but we've been unsuccessful as we went to a specialist and have been assured that we can't have children. Our hearts were broken, and since then, we've wanted nothing less than to become parents and have something to call our own. Last year, we decided we would volunteer helping at foster homes and helping the youth and young adults that were struggling with homelessness. While doing this, we met our son's birth mother, A, 19 female. She was pregnant and struggling with homelessness, and we offered to take her in, help her with maternity clothes, healthcare, transportation, and doctor's appointments. She took us up on our offer and moved in. And that's when she began telling us that her child's father wasn't in the picture and she had no way to provide for him. She didn't know what she was going to do and had no job or way of caring for him. She was 20 weeks pregnant around this time. As our bond grew, we told her our struggles with having a child of our own and told her that it would mean the world to us to have a child as we are financially stable and a loving family. We offered to adopt him and have her be a sister figure to him. We told her that this was completely her decision and that we would support whatever she wanted. After a few weeks, she told us that she wanted us to adopt him once she gave birth, and we agreed to an open adoption. We thanked her and we supported her in every way she needed, and she also had her own room in our home. Fast forward, she gave birth to our son, Aiden. I was there for the birth and our bond was unexplainable. Shortly after, the next morning, she signed off the adoption papers and terminated her rights. We then took him home along with her. About 2 weeks after his birth, she began becoming very clingy with our son. We explained that he was ours and she was welcome to help with him, but he was my son and I would make all decisions regarding him. This upset her and she felt hurt. We ultimately decided to ask her to move out once the adoption was finalized. We haven't had any contact with her since. We decided to close the adoption and we asked her not to contact us any further. His birth mother thinks I'm the asshole and accuses me of manipulating her with false pretenses. However, this is not true and Aiden is our son and I'm his mother, so I have to do what's best for him. So, am I the asshole? Yeah, you manipulative witch. What the heck? You met a vulnerable teen, okay? Homeless. Pregnant, no baby daddy, no nothing. You take her in under this false pretense that we're going to take care of you, take care of your baby. It's all up to you. It'll be an open adoption. Thinking you guys are good people, she gives you the child. God forbid, 2 weeks after she has this baby, postpartum, she feels some sort of attachment from the baby that she had in her belly for 9 months. She's still a child herself too. And you threw her to the curb for that? What? And you decided to close the adoption? That is so effed up on so many levels. Am I wrong for offering my wife a loan? I, 35 male, am married to my wife Ava, 30 female, for over 10 years. I love her very much and we have a good marriage, but recently a pretty big issue came up. Ava has a dog that's pushing 14 years old. She got him as a puppy in high school and she's always treated him like her child. We have been holding off on having kids for so long, partly because I know she will give the dog more attention than our real baby. Anyway, the dog has some health issues because it's older and it's a breed predisposed to certain health issues already. It's on death's door, but Ava won't let him go. She took him to the emergency vet a week ago and they convinced her to let them do all these tests and procedures to help him live longer. I really think that they're just trying to profit off her grief, and the bill came out to several $1,000s. My wife makes decent money, but she cannot afford to pay the bill without either going into serious debt or dipping into her personal savings or retirement. For some context before I continue, Ava and I agreed prior to marrying that we would have separate finances. We would open an account we both can equally contribute to for our shared bills, but anything personal, clothes, cars, etc., or maintenance of premarital assets or debt would be paid with our own money. Ava's dog, of course, was a premarital item, so financing him is entirely 100% her responsibility. She signed a prenuptial agreement with me agreeing on these terms. Now, as a result of the financial strain the dog is putting on her, she has come to me asking that I split the vet bill with her since I could easily cover it. I reminded her of our prenup, which is where things got very heated and she called me selfish, cheap, and greedy. I'm sorry. Why would you bring up a prenup during this discussion? I would get mad too, like my dog is dying, like, you remember that prenup we signed? Ben. I did not snap at her in return, as that behavior is childish and I understood she was very emotionally distressed. Instead, I offered her a loan to cover the entirety of the bill at a 6% interest rate, with 3 years to pay me back starting at the end of next month. She called me a few other names and said that the fact I was offering her a loan when I could just help her pay it was terrible. I decided to leave the vet clinic and give her some space and wait for her to calm down and see reason. She got back to me the next day, only to tell me that she was going to be staying at her mother's house for a while. She insists that I acted poorly, but I think I did the best I could in our situation. Was I the asshole here? Yeah. But, okay, I'll give you both sides, okay? I would not pay that much. I would not pay $15,000 for my animal that is past 10 years old and reaching the end of life stage. Let them go peacefully. That's the best you can do. You can just say that. Why did you have to say, hey, I'm only going to give you the money if you pay it back as a loan and here's interest for it? It became transactional. You should have spoke reason to her and just, you know, in that state, like calm her down, explain to her, like, listen, he's in pain, let him go, instead of bringing up your prenup and making the situation that much worse. She's grieving. Am I wrong for giving CPR to my friend when his wife said I don't have consent? I, 26 male, have been trained for CPR through almost every period of my life and fortunately never had to use it until now. I learned CPR through Boy Scouts, high school health class, personal trainer class, and previous work training. I work at a convenience store and experience many regulars. This regular, for example, is a man that we will call Jerry. Jerry is roughly in his late 40s and early 50s. It happens to always have 10 to 15 conversations on random stuff we bond over. He's also an Eagle Scout, a father, and has a daughter who is about to get married and is over the moon about it. Star Wars fan and loves sports, so there's something we will always talk about. I love Jerry. He's an awesome guy who doesn't talk about work a lot, which I completely understand and respect. 1 week ago, Jerry came into the store with his wife that I have met on occasion of him shopping. Not really a social person, which my wife isn't either, so I understand. I was on the other aisle when I started to hear heavy breathing at the counter, then following a loud crash and panicking scream. I rush over to see that it's Jerry on the floor unconscious. I quickly run over and get down to assess him. He wasn't breathing or responding to me. I look over at my boss, who we will call Misty, to call 911 and to grab the AED. I began to unbutton Jerry's shirt to start compressions and getting him ready for if we need to use the AED. During this, his wife looks at me and says, "Are you really going to perform CPR? I'd rather have a medical professional than you." I didn't even comprehend this comment and just kept continuing. What seemed like 5 minutes of doing compression was only 1 minute. The wife keeps on yelling at me saying, I don't have the right to touch him without permission or her consent. I ignore her and keep doing compressions in mouth to mouth. That's when we started to hear sirens in the distance, and since we lived in a super small town, it was fortunate to have a hospital close by. The sirens were getting closer, and then suddenly the ambulance was right at our door and rushing in with the stretcher. One of the paramedics asked if he could take over my round of compressions. Of course, I agree, and we had a smooth transfer of compressions. That's when my boss with the AED in hand comes over, and that's when she's escorted away from the situation to calm her down while the wife was staring daggers into my soul. I was put into a room to calm down. After 10 or so minutes, I hear the wife yell, "I'm going to press charges against that guy. He could have killed my husband." My boss tells me to go home after writing a report and to take a break for a while. Right now, I'm at home scared and waiting for that phone call from a lawyer or someone. I know what I did was right, but I feel like I actually did do something wrong with going against the wife's consent. So, am I the asshole? CPR certified. Unconscious victim, consent is implied. We have laws specifically designed to protect citizens in these type of situations. And I hope people understand, right? When you're down like that, those seconds count. Every second counts. When you're doing CPR, you're waiting for them to get transferred to a hospital. Every second counts. Keeping oxygen flow to the brain. People don't understand. People don't understand. Unless you're CPR certified, then you would know. Or if you're taking a science class, you would know.
Am I the asshole for keeping my name change a secret for 5 years? So my 26 female parents decided to name my sister and I after American states. I have permission to share her name, Arizona, and I was called Pennsylvania at birth. Yes, my parents are weird. I guess they think geographical names were cool, but I think there's a huge difference between calling your child Arizona or Dakota or Paris versus Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is the weirdest name you could have picked.
They're massive Republicans and America lovers, so maybe they wanted to be patriotic. For as long as I can remember, everyone has called me Pen or Penny. My parents insisted that everyone call me by my full name, but most people could see how ridiculous my parents are. My sister, 28 female, didn't struggle as much with her name since Arizona sounds much better than Pennsylvania, and the Grey's Anatomy character Arizona Robbins made the name seem quite cool as we got older. I was mocked and teased as a child in elementary school because of my parents' insistence on my full name. They would literally berate my teachers for letting me write Penny on my work/books. When I was 21, I got my name legally changed to Penelope. Most people I have met in college have assumed that I went by Penny as a nickname for Penelope. Even my boyfriend's mother called me Penelope because I was too embarrassed to tell her that Penny was short for Pennsylvania. I kept it a secret from my parents and close family because I knew my parents would go mental and accuse me of disrespecting their choice. I'm getting married this summer to my lovely boyfriend, Tom, 31 male, and as you know, you have to say your full name in your wedding ceremony when doing your vows.
You have to?
Well, I guess most people do. I knew I had to fess up about the name change because the alternate would be hoping they kept quiet when they heard me say, I Penelope, instead of I Pennsylvania.
Who the hell are that?
She said her name wrong. Right back.
I invited them over to my house and I tried to tell them in a really calm way that I changed my name, but they freaked out. They said I was disrespectful. I was calling their choice dumb, etc. They're refusing to attend the wedding now. I know I'm not the asshole for changing my name, but my parents are particularly pissed about how I kept it hidden for 5 years before telling them. Most people I know agree with them. They think I should have had the courage to be honest with them years ago, so they would have had time to get used to it instead of me dropping the news on them 2 months before my wedding and causing all this drama. A few other family members have dropped out, and my poor sister, who is maid of honor, is having a nightmare with this. My parents believe they had the right to know much earlier. There's an edit that says, I know I could ask the officiant or priest to say Penny instead of Penelope, but I don't want to hide my real name on my wedding day. Am I the asshole for leaving after my girlfriend gave birth to our disabled child? I grew up in a home with a disabled brother. All of my parents' money and attention went to him. They pretty much forgot that I existed. All of our family activities were predicated on my brother's ability to participate. I did not qualify for financial aid. I was not a great student, and honestly, attending college would have been a waste of money. Instead, my grandfather helped me find a job in the oil rigs. It's hard, dirty, lonely work, but it pays very well. I started as a floor hand apprentice. It's basically the lowest of the low. I did not cut off my family, but I did not go out of my way to stay in contact. I was working in another state, and they did not have time for me anyway. I got a call about 10 years later. My little brother had passed away. I went to the funeral, and my folks looked, about 25 years older. It was good to see them, but I left pretty quickly afterwards. It's hard to explain, but I never really got attached to them since they had ignored me since I was 5. I was never abused or anything. I was just sort of a second thought. When my girlfriend got pregnant, I was really happy. We'd been together for 3 years, and I was happy for her. I hope I was making her happy. We talked about it, and we decided to get all the tests so we could know if we were going to have a healthy baby. Before the first test, we agreed that if we were not having a healthy baby, then we would not be having a baby. I know it's a horrible thing to contemplate, but I had been through that life for 13 years, and I was free of it with no interest in going back. One of the tests came back positive for one of the conditions that we decided we did not want in a child. Please understand that I am not in any way saying that people with disabilities should not be born, only that I knew I would not want to be around for that. We had a second, third, and even a fourth opinion. I spent a lot of my savings on tests that insurance would not cover in full. It was not a great time. Then my girlfriend said that she changed her mind, that she could not terminate. I argued with her for days, weeks, until it was too late. I told her that I would not choose to be around her to help with the child, that I would pay child support, but that was it. Our relationship was on cruise control from then on until the baby was born. I made sure she got home safe from the hospital, and then I went to work, and then I never went back. I paid the child support that I'm ordered to pay by court. I did not fight it or dodge it, but I have not seen her or the child since the hospital. I got married 3 years later. We were expecting our first child, and I heard from my ex. The child has passed away. She wanted me to come to the funeral. I said no. I knew it was coming. It was still a gut punch, though. My parents are upset with me for how I handled things. They went to the funeral. I told them that I did not want the life that they had while my brother was alive, and that my ex had tried to force me into it after agreeing not to. They said they were disappointed that they had not raised me right. I got angry and said that they had not raised me at all. I asked them to show me anything they had from my childhood that showed that they had taken the slightest interest in me. They said that wasn't fair because they had to care for my brother. I just said that was my point, and I hung up. I feel like shit about the whole thing, but my ex knew how I felt and why. To this day, I do not understand why she changed her mind. My wife and I talked before getting married and made the same decision, and thank God we did not have to make it, but she understood how I felt. Her mom and dad talked to us about it, and they told us that we had to do what was best for us. I had told them everything about my past that was relevant to my relationship with their daughter. Sorry for rambling, but I guess I'm just trying to put all the thoughts down while I have the courage to ask. Am I the asshole?